universities like Takshashila, or you can take an example of all the way universities. We can take an example of the universities with national importance and so on and so on. India is one of the largest higher education system in not only Asia or not only in the continent, but also all over the world. And that stands second in terms of higher education network. So the term higher education with respect to India or Indian scenario denotes that the tertiary level education that is imparted after 12th standard, just now as I told about the schooling or secondary education up to class 12, that is 12 years of schooling and later on is really interesting part to be studied. So the entire higher education ecosystem in India comprises of 1,000 plus universities. Just I mentioned the statistics, and more than 42,000 schools, 42,000 colleges imparting exceptional education in India. All these institutions falls under the purview of Ministry of Education. So higher education has been regulated, controlled, monitored, funded by nothing but the Ministry of Education. Now, the institutions in India are furnished with state-of-art infrastructure, modern libraries, classrooms, well-equipped and advanced facilities or amenities such as smart classrooms, computers, Wi-Fi connectivity, and so on. As the COVID pandemic has taught all of us that we have to adopt the modern technology, otherwise it will be very difficult to survive. And including the advanced countries, all the developing countries or poor countries compulsorily adopted the e-education or electronic education or online education. That is very important one to understand. All in all, these top grade resources facilitates the interactive and 360-degree learning for the students as well. That 24/7 learning, whatever subject you want to learn, whatever topic you want to understand, you want to study at a time mathematics as well as literature, English literature, or any other subject, you can have study for that. Due to these salient features, 3 Indian institutes called as IIT, that is Indian Institute of Technology, the premier institutes in India we have, Indian Institute of Science, that IISCs, or National Institute of Technologies, followed by Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, and followed by IIMs, that is Indian Institute of Management, have been featured in world top ranking institutions list as well. Now, dear students or participants, you must be aware about that any particular university needed to have at the global top ranking, supposed to have a good Times higher education ranking, supposed to have good QS ranking. That world QS ranking is supposed to be in top 100 universities, top 50 universities, or top 10 universities. Then only the students, the global students, would be attracted towards the you can take an example of towards any particular university. Otherwise, you can take an example. Just I was searching some literature on higher education system in the world. I could see the universities like Harvard, universities like Cambridge, universities like Oxford will have almost 40 to 45% intake from outside of the country as well, which means only 50% students are from the concerned countries, and the rest of the students are coming from abroad as well. So an importance of higher education institution is supposed to be decided on the basis of quality, on the basis of research, on the basis of student-teacher ratio, on the basis of student-teacher relationship, on the basis of employability, on the basis of what exactly university is providing to the students as well. Quality education, access education to one and all. At the same time, world-class infrastructure, and so on and so on. This solidifies the belief that India is emerging as a major education hub for both international and national students. So in India, many of the students from other countries of the world are also nowadays started attracting because of its educational standards as well, because of its educational system as well. Albert Einstein has rightly said that we owe a lot to the ancient Indians for teaching us how to count, without which most modern scientific discoveries
aku
would
dewe
have
sih
been
biyen tahu takon
impossible.
sormati terakhir jakal rasa aku ora ras jalo.
I think somebody is talking in between. Kulsum ma'am, please mute.
Yes, I have mute.
Okay, so Albert Einstein has rightly said what kind of contribution is being made by India to the world, specifically in the form of like counting as in mathematics or statistics as in. Those students are not much more aware about India. We can have a glance about India as well. So discover India in a minute. That students can have easy glance over that. That capital city or capital of India is New Delhi. The dialing code we have is +91. We have 28 states and 8 union territories. We have population 1.35 billion plus. We have the languages like Hindi, English, or regional languages, those who are used in different states. We have the academic intake of different courses, specifically January and June, or otherwise we have the UNESCO heritage sites in India that are also counted as 40. Here you could see Taj Mahal, or you might have heard about lots of heritage sites in India as well. So very rich, very cultured country we have. Now where to go if we are supposed to have the higher education system to be placed in a systematic manner? Which institutes are providing funding to the higher education institutions, and how the higher education institutions been taken care by the different national agencies? We could see the very first is Indian Council of Social Science Research, that is ICSSR. You can see here the Indian Council for Historical Research. We also have Indian Institute of Advanced Study, IIAS. We also have Indian Council of Philosophical Research, ICPR. And for the students, I would like to state that these institutions are also providing the funding or scholarship to the foreign students as well. So those who are interested to apply for Indian universities could also approach to these particular universities. We also have National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, NUEPA. We have the monetary authority or regulatory authority like DST, Department of Science and Technology, ICSSR already, as I mentioned, and very important body which is there called as nothing but the University Grants Commission. Now it is been renamed into the Ministry of Education. Then, as I belongs to the University of Mumbai, I have also put in the logo of University of Mumbai. There are also some funding agencies like Indian research funding agencies, including like ICSSR, as I said, UGC, DST, and so on and so on. Next, we are supposed to move towards the equilateral triangle. That equilateral triangle stands for nothing. There are 3 dimensions, 3 directions of this triangle. At the base, we have 2 important concepts. Very first is quality of education. Second is equity in education. And third is nothing but quantity or access to education. Here, what kind of quality we are supposed to expect? That the world-class infrastructure has to be there. The hostel facility, internet facility, then the accommodation has to be appropriate. Classroom should be neat and clean, drinking water. Everything should be appropriately available with a world-class standard of quality in the services. Followed by equity. Here, equity stands for nothing but irrespective of gender, irrespective of caste, irrespective of color, irrespective of race, irrespective of religion, everybody should have to get equal opportunity to impart higher education. Already, as I said in my beginning of the presentation, all the way in India, we still have the problem of casteism. Still, we have the problem of religious beliefs as well. And all the way that is needed to be curtailed as well. That needed to have an appropriate methodologies as well, so that there should be equality amongst the rich and poor as well. There should be equality amongst the highly educated and the illiterates as well. You can see that still in India, we do not have the 100% literacy rate as well. So in the rural parts of our country, people are facing lots of problems and difficulties. The literacy rate or the literacy ratio amongst women as compared to men is also problematic and so on. So in the equilateral triangle, we have quality, we have equity, and finally at the top, we are supposed to have quantity with the access. Now, what do you mean by access? Access stands for nothing, but everybody should be able to get an admission into higher education. In that higher education institution, you should have an easy access as well. For example, like simplified admission process, simplified scholarship process, at the same time, job-oriented courses or job-oriented programs or some benefits to be available to the students has to be provided in a systematic manner. So this equilateral triangle we have to keep in our mind as well. What is the current status of higher education in India is the real issue of concern to all of us. It is only because the people, because as India is having bulk or huge amount of number of population, this huge number of population that already we have outnumbered the Chinese population, that now India is the superpower in population, that is the largest populous country in all over the world. So as the higher education system is supposed to be improved as well, but still there are some problems and difficulties that we have to discuss. Now, the growth of higher education system, higher education in India, could see at the time of the independence, 1947 to 1948, as India got its independence in the year 1947, at 15th August 1947. And there were only 516 colleges with 20 universities, and the enrollment ratio was less than 1%, that is 0.2%. But now that enrollment ratio has gone up, colleges has gone up to 40,000 plus, universities are already gone up as 1,100 plus, and so on. So which shows that India is becoming stronger and stronger in the higher education system as well. Now, what is the strength of higher education system in India? Now, as I said already, higher education plays a very important role in overall economic development, growth and development of the country. Suppose, for example, any particular graduate who is completing either it is commerce graduate, arts graduate, science graduate, technology graduate, and so on, he is supposed to contribute to his family first, then it is for the nation, and then that would be nothing but contributing to improving the national income or GDP of the country as well. So the strength of Indian higher education consists of one of the largest education systems in all over the world. Second is the largest stock of educated manpower. We have the millions of graduates. We have the lots of population, those who are highly qualified as well. And you could see that every year, India is sending lots of technocrats, lots of educated people to the rest of the world as well. And it is also very important to say that every year in the form of demographic, every year India is adding 1 Australian population. So the rise in population growth is also the serious issue of concern to the Indian scenario also. Self-reliance in manpower needs, export of manpower is required. At the same time, democratization, that is improvement in equity, is been expected. Then pockets of excellence, then it is diversity. But at the same time, we have lots of weaknesses along with the strength as well. And along with the strength, these weaknesses consist of the quality. Now, everybody may have a question in their mind, what kind of quality is supposed to be there for higher education system? All the way, just now, as I told, that all the way infrastructure has to be appropriately there. At the same time, the teaching has to be at specific mark level as well. A teacher should be clear in his vision, clear in his communication skills, or he should be in a position that he will convey the message in a very systematic manner to the student as well. But most of the times what happened, teacher is, sometime if teacher is not able to communicate the syllabus, communicate the ideas, communicate the morals to the students, it would be very much difficult that the concerned student is supposed to be brought into the mainstream as well. And that could lead to nothing but a dropout of students. And that is also the real troublesome situation. So the very first weakness of higher education is nothing but the quality. We need to maintain quality in the form of infrastructure, teaching, or learning, or methodology, or we can take an example of the overall complete model has to be there as far as teaching scenario is concerned. Another weakness we can discuss all the way is nothing but the inequalities as well. Still now in India, there are certain regions, certain states wherein some socially backward communities are still facing lots of problems to come into the mainstream as well. So to come into the mainstream, they are supposed to have the equality or the equal access as well. But first of all, they don't have money, or they don't have fund. They don't have money to pay the fees of higher education. At that particular time, it will be very much difficult to survive there. For example, any student, or middle class student or the poor student who wanted to have medical degree in India from the private sector or the private university, he is supposed to pay at least rupees 15 lakhs per year as well. Or otherwise, for 5.5 years, for 6 years, he has to spend accordingly around 1 crore Indian rupees plus as the spending for becoming the medical graduate, either it is the MBBS or some medical education. So due to non-affordability for higher education, there is a constant rise in inequality amongst the haves and have-nots as well, rich and poor people. So most of the time, what is happening, the people, those who are not having an appropriate access to the higher education, are supposed to be deprived from getting an appropriate opportunities to reach to the higher position as well. So lower level of education could lead to nothing but unemployment. That could lead to nothing but lower wages. That could lead to sometime exploitation. That could lead to sometime the problematic situation as well. There is also inadequacy available, inadequacy in the form of like higher education institution. The quality higher education institution are inadequately available. Suppose IITs and IIMs, the standard, the quality which has been maintained by them is supposed to be made available to each and every individual asset. Now let us move towards some of the fiscal policy estimates for the higher education in India as well. As the monetary policy is given by the central bank, that is the Reserve Bank, wherein the fiscal policy is given by the government of the country, that is the central or union government as well. Now all the way, the union government used to allocate the budgetary expenses on higher education as well. You could see the education budget was allocated 1.12 lakhs crores rupees, millions of rupees as well, millions of dollars, which is the highest ever as opposed to the last year's 1.4 lakhs crores. And you can see how far 2012-13 to 2023-24, the budgetary estimates or expenditure went on increasing from 51,000 crores rupees to 1,12,899 lakhs crores rupees as well. So the huge transformation has went through from 51,000 to 1,12,000 crores rupees, almost double the expenses. But again, it is from Indian scenario, one can see that the rising population is not having the appropriate share of this rising expenditure. And most of the economists are criticizing the budget, stating that no, that expenditure should have to be doubled or tripled as well. Which means if the expenditure, the budgeted estimates of expenditure for the year 2023-24 is 1,12,000 crores rupees, it has to be like 2,24,000 crores rupees for improving the higher education system in India, the best quality higher education system in the country. The next slide, which is again indicative, which is the range of average higher education cost in India. Just now we were discussing about that. The medical education, how costly it is.
Pardon
See,
me, Professor
medical.
Skaker. I would like to remind that you have 3 minutes ahead to the presentation because we have running out of time.
Okay. So we have the higher education system like medical education, which is costing 5 lakhs to 20 lakhs. Commerce arts education is 1 to 5 lakhs, which is quite lower. Management education is similar to the medical education. Engineering education is also similar to that. There are certain challenges we can have for higher education system like enrollment, equity, quality, infrastructure, political impedance, faculty shortage, accreditation, research and innovation. These all are challenges we have. Now, how the higher education system is contributing? It is in the form of self-reliance in manpower. That is, more we are educated, more will be the income and so on. So automatically it will be empowerment. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar has rightly said that education will take us to the higher position if it is been available in the form of quality. Export of skilled manpower to the rest of the world is also contributed. Socio-economic development is possible through higher education. Democracy and political stability also can be seen. The growth is not adequate for rapid economic development to face global challenges. There are some inequalities in higher education system, like regional inequalities. State to state, it is different. Inequalities between social groups, caste, religion, gender, just now as I told. Or else inequalities between economic groups, that is poor and rich, haves and have-nots, etc. Recent trends in higher education policies and practices. Public policies, that is constant decline in the government budget. Non-recruitment of teachers. Cost recovery is difficult. Privatization could also lead to costliness of higher education. Steep increase in the fees of higher education system. The student loan is also one of the problem or hurdle because the rate of interest is quite high. That is supposed to be moderated, or that is supposed to be brought down to 1% to 2%, might be subsidized. Teachers recruitment is also an issue. Privatization in higher education is supposed to be properly rectified. Finally, it is summing up of different policies. There is reduction in the level of public financing. It has to be improved. Increased level of cost recovery. Non-recruitment of teachers. Rapid privatization to be stopped, and so on. What needs to be done? Government should have to commit proper amount to the higher education. 6% of GDP is supposed to be allocated to the higher education or education. Almost 2% to the GDP to the higher education. Focus on quality and equality. Elementary, secondary, higher secondary, and university education appropriately contributed. What is to be done? It's the final part. To promote excellence through merit scholarship. to promote equity. At least a minimum proportion of research has to be there. Ceiling on fees, that is lesser amount of fees to be charged. Investment need to be increased, recruitment of faculties. That's it. This is all about the scenario of Indian higher education. That's what in the beginning of my lecture already, as I said, it is difficult to sum up the entire education system in the country. So I could justify only higher education system in India. So at the outset, I am very much thankful to the authorities, specifically university authorities, specifically the rector, vice chancellor, dean, or my friend Dr. Kulsum, and the other students, participants, those who have presented very well in the international webinar. So thank you very much for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to speak before you all of you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Vilas Gaikar, for the great presentation about opportunities and challenges in Indian higher education on overview. So it was extremely fabulous, Prof. Then I believe there is any participants that want to ask to Professor Dr. Vilas Gaikar directly. So we're going to the next section, sharing and asking section. So participants, if you want to ask to Professor Vilas Gaikar or two speakers, Mbak Sabila Gozani, also Mbak Husni Kamil, so I please and welcome you. So please raise your hands. Okay, while waiting for participants make writing per question, so it was very interesting, Prof, because you mentioned about the quality, inequality, also the weakness and strengths about the system in India, but we focus on higher education and overview. Okay, we have a question from Miss Lina Alfiana. Before it, I would like to ask Miss Lina Alfiana to ask directly to Professor Dr. Vilas Gaikar. Do you mind, Miss Lina? Okay, Miss Lina, could you hear me?
Yeah, Miss.
Okay, you could to ask to Professor Dr. Vilas Gaikar directly.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your speech?
Can you ask your question to Professor Dr. Vilas Gaikar with directly? I mean, you say it by yourself.
Okay. Thank you in advance for the opportunity, and I also apologize if my questions less than pleasing. As we know, India is a beautiful country and cultural diversity, but there are also issues regarding social inequality and discrimination. Then the question is how education in India respond about trust issue like inequality, social or discrimination, especially in education. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Alviana. It's a nice question, and I appreciate the question which you asked. Actually, it is a very controversial question as well, because here I am not supposed to speak on any issues which will raise any kind of controversy. But still, I can reply your question in the form that the higher education regulatory bodies are initiating with different policies, specifically for removing the regional disparities or religious disparities, so that students should not face any particular problem in the higher education institution, specifically like colleges or specifically like universities. There should not be any kind of caste discrimination, or it is the racism, or there should not be any kind of religious differences as well. So as we have multicultural and multi-ethnic country, so and the regulatory bodies are always checking up if there is something wrong going on in the higher education institutions as
well. Okay, thank you
well.
very
If it is
much.
clear, it's fine. Otherwise,
Okay, thank you very much, Prof, for the answer. I hope it could answer Mbak Lina Alviane's question. Maybe we still have a minute for one more question, Prof. Do you mind if we have one question more?
no problem.
Okay. It is the question from Muhammad Abdul Shakura. But before it, I would like to ask Muhammad Abdul Shakura to ask to Professor Dr. Vilas Gaikar directly. Can you open your microphone, please? Mr. Muhammad Abdul Shakura, do you mind?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay, we please you to say your question, please.
Saya berbicara dalam bahasa Indonesia saja. Mohon izin untuk ditranslatekan, gitu.
What is asking, ma'am? Also, ma'am.
Okay, he tried to speak up, Professor. Okay. Mas Abdan, boleh baca saja pertanyaannya, tidak apa-apa.
Oke, baik. Mengenai kurikulum India, apakah di India juga menerapkan sistem pembelajaran project untuk mengenalkan budaya lokal yang ada di sana, dan bagaimana implementasinya? Seperti itu.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad Abdul Shakura, for the great question. I will translate it for you, but actually he already write it in the column chat. So let me read it for you. Mr. Muhammad Abdul Shakura, yes, please turn off your microphone. Does the curriculum in India apply project system learning to introduce local culture to early childhood? And if it does, what are the methods for introducing this culture in early childhood? Can you catch
Early childhood stands for in Indonesian education system. That is up to which year?
He might. What's the method in Indian system to introduce about the culture in India?
No, I'm asking because we have the different education system, like primary education system. So early childhood, which means that is before 1 year, before 2 years of age, before 5 years of age, or 6 years, what it is?
Yes, in the basic. Yes, first in the basic or in the primary schools.
Primary schools. So primary schools, what you are asking, the evaluation method, project method, what you are asking?
Okay. So do the two of them, the methods are applied in India?
Which method?
You said that the project method and evaluative method.
No, there is no project method as such. Suppose, for example, as you said, early childhood, that is standard or class 1 to 2. There is only the regular observation system which has been there, and some basic test is supposed to be undertaken to understand what exactly the child has understood from the basic concepts, alphabets, or the language, and so on. That is to be understood by the child as well. So there won't be any particular project or a big sort of assignment and so on for the early childhood level as primary education.
Okay, thank you very much. So in the primary, there's introducing about the alphabets and also about the culture, something like that.
Basic introductory part of the syllabus, or the like languages or the social science or science is to be understood at the introductory level, as basic level.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor. So I think the time is running out. So I'm sure that there's still a question from all the participants, but how pity we are because we have a limitation of time. So
yes, let them send their questions if they have. My contact number is already there, or email ID is already there, or through Kulsum Madam also they can send the queries or the questions they have.
Okay, wow, that's amazing. What an honor for us because we have to chat with you directly. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Vilas Gaikar. So because we already at the end of the section, so I would like to ask Professor Dr. Kulsum Nurhayati, MPD MSE, to give an closing statement for our agenda today. Please welcome Dr. Kulsum Nurhayati, MPD MSE.
Okay, thank you, Miss Helia. I'm sorry, Professor Vilas. Now in Indonesia, it's time to pray Maghrib. And we must pray soon. Okay, Professor Vilas, today I'm very, very happy and thank you for your kindness. I'm so sorry because Paramjit, our best friend, suddenly canceled her appearance as a speaker today. So I called you last night. Again, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, Paramjit make me sad because I can't postpone this event. Professor Vilas, I think you are my hero. Thank you so much for helping me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I am always there whenever you ask me. You can call me physically also if there is any opportunity to visit your country, your university.
Oh yeah, okay. Nice.
Because I was there in Kazakhstan for almost 1 month.
Yeah. Today you give us inspiration, insight, and nice presentation. You give us understanding more deeply about curriculum in India, especially in higher education system. Thank you for all my curious and active students in this class. We preparing this event just 2 days, sir. So it is very limited time. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, speaker and participants. We have arrived in the end of our special lecturing moment. Learn about the concept of education in India more deeply with Professor Dr. Vilas Gaikar. Hope it is useful. It is useful for us, and I hope we could increase knowledge and insight from Professor Dr. Vilas Gaikar presentation and sharing. Thank you for your attention. May God always bless us. May God always guide us. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Kulsum Nurhayati, MPD MSE, for the great closing statement. Then the last, I would like to ask Professor Dr. Vilas Gaikar to give to us the closing statement, and also maybe a suggestion and also motivation for us because we are learner here, Prof. So time and place is yours.
Shall I say something?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much. But very amazing students and participants. And actually, I would have loved to be there offline, that the physically appearance, because the students are ultimately our goal. Because if students are happy, then ultimately the teacher is happy. So I would like to inculcate the research attitude or research culture amongst all the students of your university. Or if students are very much interested about writing research papers, let me know. We can collaborate for research writing. That is a higher education system in India and Indonesia, a collaborative study kind of work we can do it. Or we can develop a model of India-Indonesia higher education model of higher education that could be useful for the next generation people, or that could be useful for the other universities also. Ki how far the improvement in higher education could lead to improvement in the livelihood of the people, employability of the people, infrastructure of the country, and overall growth and development of the nation as well. So I would like to give message to all my dear students that give your best, study hard, and be focused for your studies, that you should marching towards excellence in your life as well. Thank you very much for again inviting me and giving me this opportunity to speak before you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Dr. Vilas Gaikar, for the suggestion, motivation for us. Give your best, study hard, and be focused. Okay, it will be remind always, inshallah, Professor. Okay, so as like in Professor Dr. Vilas Gaikar before, he mentioned about the collaboration. Maybe one day, the next day, next year, it will be collaboration for us. Then we will meet Professor Dr. Vilas Gaikar. I mean, in India or Indonesia, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay.
I am
So-
also inviting all of you to join India, Mumbai.
Oh, inshallah. We will ask to Dr. Kulsum Nur Hayati if she allows us, so we will.
Okay, let's we go to Mumbai.
Yeah. Everybody is welcome.
Okay,
Okay.
mashallah. Thank you very much.
Maybe next.
Yeah. So I am Helia Rahmatunisa as the Master of Ceremony for today. Thank you very much for all participants, speakers, Dr. Vilas Gaikar, and also Dr. Kulsum Nur Hayati, MPD MSI. Also our best speaker, Ms. Sabila Gozani, SPD, and Ms. Nur Husni Kamil. Thank you very much for today. My today is the great, and it will be fulfilled for us for spirit and also motivation. That's all. So I'm Helia. I'm sorry for any mistake that I made. Then I'm sorry for the camera because unpredictable happens. Then maybe the next day it will be better, inshallah. So we close our agenda today. Let's say Hamdallah together. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Then the last we say Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah, I will take a picture. Please open your camera.
Yeah. Oh yes. All participants, please open your camera. Then we would like to do the commentation. Mbak Rida, Mbak Nur Husna Kamil, Mr. Rusli, Miss Lina, Miss Nur Husni Kamil, Miss Lusalat Yasriani, please open your camera. So I'm sorry because I already opened my camera, but I don't know, there's blank, like whole blank, then the camera is off.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vilas.
Thank you. Bye.
In Mumbai, yeah.
Yeah, see you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We will go to Mumbai.